on a certain extent, like, especially with Sean. I had people that hit me up and were like, you were kind of harsh with Sean. I was like, I was so pulled back and so respectful because this ain't the Drew McCaskill show, it's the Karen Hunter show. So I'm asking questions, you know what I mean? But like, I was like, in my head, what I wanted to say was, bruh, like, come on. You know what I mean? So I was like, yeah.
No,
but it was good though.
There's a different, like I'm mindful too. You think about, Jason Johnson making an off the cuff comment, on the radio, and what it cost him, as a result. And you watch that play out, and I'm like, Are you sure you want to say that? I don't care. I was like, so because in this format, once the video goes up, people have no context. They haven't been rocking with you on the radio, and they don't know how irreverent you are with, how flippant you are with different things, and how you just say stuff. And then we have this rapport, and we have this kind of back and forth.
Right.
You're just hearing a comment, and you're taking it just in a snapshot of a 3-hour show, and they took it and ran with it, and there's really no coming back from it once it's out there, and it's like, we do have to, watch ourselves, because even if your intent is right, even if your intent is good, all somebody has to do is cut and slice. And we're not even talking about the ways in which people can manipulate your words.
Yeah, all they have to do is just take a soundbite out of context, just that little one part, and then all of a sudden you find yourself on the defensive, right?
Right.
Like on the defensive in some really serious scenarios.
Right.
Which is tough.
Being on the defense, you said something on the radio today about us getting on the offense.
Yeah.
Or was it a call? I think it was you.
That was me.
That the strategy has to be on the offense. Yeah. I think, and I'm not even talking about partisan politics, because I really personally abhor partisan politics, because I think it doesn't define us. Most of us are not a Democrat or Republican, because it shifts and changes generation to generation. I think most of us want the same things. We want to be able to earn enough money to go on vacation when there's no coronavirus, when we can actually travel. And I forgot to cancel my plane tickets to Arizona. Don't worry, United canceled them for me.
They canceled them for you.
They're actually going nowhere. I was like, I forgot I was supposed to not be here. But the notion of having these ideals attached to who you are, which is why I think this political cycle is so frictious and so toxic, is that people hold on to one item, one issue, and that's their one thing. I'm not voting unless you do this, or I'm not gonna support you unless you do that, or there's no broad scale, like, this is all about a power play. And I think you kind of uncovered that today in this discussion about, like, what is this really about? What is this? And when you said it's about the judges, and when you broke down, and folks, if you ain't listened to the show today, I suggest you do that now through May 15th. SiriusXM is free. But Drew McCaskill broke down why it was so detrimental to us, Black people, to elect Trump. And it had nothing to do with Black people directly as much as it did indirectly with our freedom. When you said that slavery thing, that judges have the right to enslave you, I was like, game over. That's the discussion. But why isn't the DNC making that argument?
Because the DNC has statisticians and legacy political operatives running campaigns and running strategy, instead of looking at this and looking at this election as what it is, which the presidency has vastly become a popularity contest. This is now an election that is about things like likability. It is about persona and not about policy. And the fact that the DNC did not understand that after watching what happened with Hillary, had 4 years of a Trump administration, and didn't realize that they need, and I said this on your show previously, they don't understand that this is a marketing play. They've got to figure out, they've got to go to the mindset of the people and the electorate. The DNC has been sitting in these alabaster walls up on Olympus, and they're being cerebral as hell, and they're not thinking about how this all lands on the Republic, how this all lands on the electorate, how this lands on people in those barbershops that are having conversations about immigration in ways that are not the same ways that are happening in these Ivy League circles. People who are having conversations about trust in government and trust in healthcare and housing in ways that have absolutely nothing to do with how Washington sees it.
Facts. But it's been this way. I've been yelling about it since before Hillary, actually, since before when I watched Trump come down that escalator. I said, they ain't ready.
Yeah.
They don't even know what that is. You know, they don't know what it is for a man to literally use his bully pulpit to send 5 children to jail for a crime they didn't commit. And he did that. He did that.
He was able to manipulate media. Even then, I don't have the intellectual capacity to actually get into the press. So I can buy my way and I can circumvent the press and still get all of the readers of the Wall Street Journal or the New York Times by buying a full page ad. And then I'll still make headlines in all of the other papers.
Right. The beauty, the genius of that was the $25,000 full page ad became a story unto itself. So he's so media savvy that $25,000 that he spent in New York Daily News, New York Times, and all the other newspapers brought him back millions of dollars in press. So it was, if he spent $100,000, he got back $1 million+ in media for that act. And at the same time got his message out, which was these 5 young African-American, much like Birth of a Nation, D.W. Griffith, they're raping our women. They deserve, we're talking about 15, 16, 17-year-old boys that he called for their death.
He called for their death.
And they got convicted for something they didn't do. And I cannot say that those two things are not connected. That rich man using his dollars to besmirch and paint a narrative about 5 boys in a full page ad. I can't say that was not more effective than any story about it.
And you had a black male caller call in today who said that he actually voted for Donald Trump in the last election. And Donald Trump has never apologized about what he did with that ad. And I won't call them the Central Park 5. What I will call them is the exonerated 5, right? Because that's what Sister Ava said do, right? He had the gumption to vote for Donald Trump, who did that to the exonerated 5, to those black boys who Donald Trump, who has never apologized for it, never said he was wrong. Never said he was wrong. And decided to vote for him over Hillary Clinton. And the people who were all against Hillary were talking about super predator. A word and a comment taken out of the context of the time and out of the context of where the word came from, and people were like, who she has actually apologized for the term and using the term. But there's all of these things like, 94 crime bill. Okay, I get it. But Hillary Clinton was not in Congress. She was not the president. She was married to the president. But yet Donald Trump, these things that he actually did, and you as a black man, you said, oh, that's the dude I'm going to vote for. Listen.
You was a black man who could never rent in any of his buildings, by the way, because since the 70s, they are on record sued for discriminating in their buildings, the Trump buildings, right? Particularly in Queens and other places in New York City. Like they are on record for discriminating and pay people off so they didn't have to go to court. But I just feel like,
and you could never do his taxes, apparently, based on what he has been quoted to say, is that he would never let a black person deal with his money.
We don't have the mental capacity, so he doesn't think very highly of us. But you would cast a vote, and I don't even want to litigate that. This is even beyond Trump being a complete and total dumpster fire. The state of this union right now is in flux. I don't know economically, physically, there's no game plan for us to be tested in the numbers that even, I was just telling you, who's doing 700,000 tests a day? You know, France, which is a much smaller country than we are, 700,000 tests a day, because everyone should be tested so we know what we're dealing with. There's no game plan.
So we can know when it's safe to go back.
Yes. No
So we can know when it's safe to go back.
Lack of strategy. And this guy to say, well, Trump is a businessman. 6 bankruptcies, does that really qualify you as a good business person? I just feel like at some point, critical thought, it has to be a part of this equation, and we have very little of it. I don't know how we get it. I don't know how you inject. There was a period when I was teaching when I felt like America was going to go into the abyss. I just felt like these kids that I'm teaching are the dumbest people I've ever met in my entire life, and it's getting worse each successive year. I was like, what in the hell are they putting in the water?
Right.
The last 5 years, I have seen a wave of really dope, intelligent, critically think, and we've seen them with the Andrew Yang campaign in particular, you know, those kids that are into math. We've seen it with the Parkland kids after the horrific murders in Florida. We're seeing a wave of young people now who aren't having it. They are smart. They are reading the Greta Thunbergs, you know, all of the folks out there, the young people who are saying this environment matters. I actually have hope that I didn't have, but the older people, y'all need to sit down somewhere, you know. And I'm not ageism, you know, I'm not being an ageist, but I just feel like these young folk are actually, they have a clue. I don't know if they're going to show up in numbers to vote. I don't know what they're going to do, but at least as an educator, as a teacher, I see light bulbs going on and questions being asked, and the right questions being asked, and not this blind, regurgitated nonsense that we were pumping in. These kids are like doing a timeout. And I'm at least hopeful.
I'm hopeful too. I mean, I am cautiously optimistic about November. I'm hopeful. I'm hoping that these next couple of months prove to all of the people who, not the people who are undecided about Biden or Trump. I think that that's a very specific kind of voter. I'm not sure what the DNC can do. I think Jesus goes on to fix that. But I'm talking about people who have not voted, people who have decided to just kind of sit on the sidelines. I am hopeful that whatever this COVID situation becomes, because it ain't over, whatever it becomes, I'm hopeful that it will make people see how government actually is part of their lives, whether they participated in it or not. That consequences, that elections have real consequences. And I think that part of the reason why people have gotten away with being apathetic about voting is that so many of the consequences come so far down the road that, you know, we don't really feel it in our gut. You know, that we don't feel the clear and present danger.
Direct connection to this vote equaling my lack of health care, or my lack of a job, or you don't see the 1-2 connection.
I think this COVID right now happening this close to the election, it is the Scottie Pippen layup that the DNC has to come in and actually put into the hoop at this point, right? Because all the DNC has to do is tie the ineptitude of this administration and its leader to these devastating outcomes for people up and down the socioeconomic spectrum. There's a lot of middle-class people who are out of work right now, too. There are a lot of business owners who are not collecting checks right now, who've got accounts receivable and accounts payable that look like trash right now. There are a lot of people who felt like they have been either insulated, or they feel like, I'm a Republican, I'm the working wealthy. There are a lot of people who are actually feeling this COVID. They're feeling the clear and present danger of it right now. And if the DNC cannot tie this ineptitude to death, to economic ruin, to lack of confidence in the global community, to all of these things that are collapsing all around us, then that's on the DNC.
No,
because this
right.
is
No, you're right. but we're the ones that are going to feel. And I don't really even I don't even know what a pivot is if that happens, if Trump gets reelected. And I'm not so confident that he won't be. So, so I'm hesitant. I'm not, this is why I go so hard, because I'm like, I see what I saw in 2016.
So do I.
And it's not good. So we got to.
I'm concerned. Like, I'm so concerned. And I'm so concerned because the implications for Black folks are so much more stringent. I think that so many things that we haven't even really considered have been sort of pressure tested in dips and pieces by this administration and the people who want this administration to have control for the next 4 years. And I'm talking about outside forces. And I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I'm a person who I'm talking about facts. I'm talking about people who are putting money behind conservative movements and conservative actions all over this country. I'm concerned because we're starting to see them pressure test certain things.
And it's effective. And it's working.
It's working. You get Trump another 4 years, and you may see conservative media put out, a list of all of the leaders in communities that they feel like are anti to their mission, and start taking them down, start attacking them, start taking personal attacks. You get an article on Breitbart about something that they tweeted 4 years ago, and Breitbart goes then to Fox News, or it goes to all of these conservative papers, and now it's all of the conservative talk bots that are on social media. They've been so concerted with taking people down in really interesting ways.
Oh, no.
Case. Yeah. And so I'm concerned at what another 4 years of this could look like.
Well, let's stay vigilant. I know you will. I appreciate that. And my last question to you, Drew McCaskill, that's his name, Andrew McCaskill. That shirt that you have on, which is really nice. When you unzip the zippers, does it?
No, the zippers don't unzip. They're like
Apple.
They're all show no go.
Show zippers.
They're all show no go. Okay, and I think it would look weird if it was like unzipped and open, like right there on my shoulder blades.
That would look very weird. That's why I just wanted to know. You usually have a nice fashion sense, so that's really nice. I appreciate you. Y'all can follow Drew at Drew McCaskill. He's a dope person, and I appreciate you being a part of this family. I
appreciate it. I appreciate it. Look, there's an added background piece today that's like art. There's new art.
Okay, what is that art? For the show, because I have new background art too.
Yeah, it's actually not for the show. It was on the floor, and hung it up. We hung it up yesterday. But I feel like it looks good back there.
It looks good. It's nice. Your style is nice. You have good aesthetics, Drew. Like your green screen, so you could change it up like I'm doing right now. Let me see.
I want to get that. Oh.
Yeah, that's great. Since we're talking about space. All right. Listen, I'm mad sleepy. I don't know what. All right. I appreciate you.
The sleepy hit you?
The sleepy hit me. I'm ready to go. All right.
Yeah. It's my turn to cook, so I got to go cook.
All right.
All right.
Signing off. Drew McCaskill. I'm Karen Hunter. We'll see you later.